The Diecast International Builders have invited the community to participate in a frightening build. The casting I chose, you see in front of you there. It's a Hot Wheels Rigor Motor. That's kind of tough to say. According to the Hot Wheels Wiki, this has been in production since 1994, and it's loosely based on the Dragula model kit designed by Tom Daniel while he was working for George Barris for the TV show The Munsters. God, I love that show. This particular casting that you see here in all of its ugly glory is from 2001. Fortunately, this still has the metal base and the headstone grille with the two skulls. It's been retooled in recent years, and it's slightly different. So I lucked out that I had the metal base, and you'll see why a little later. It's an interesting casting. You see there, the metal base, the metal body, there's this plastic center section that kind of feeds its way through, and then that little black part you see there is the headstone and the two skulls, the grill section, that actually is different on newer models. You see the red canopy over there that I pulled out there on the left. I hate the red canopy. And it turned out to be, I finally got to use a piece of equipment I've had for a little while. And we'll get to that a little bit later. I'm excited about the possibilities for the future with this. But you can see there I had to pop out that little skull section. It's kind of a rubbery plastic. It's not the hard plastic like the ugly gold center section there. Super clean. You will notice this is a nice new jug of it. I filled up the bottle here with a nice fresh purple as opposed to the thinned out almost clear version I had in another build recently. I like to run a wire through these things so I can dunk them in there and pull them out easily. Same thing when I throw things in stripper. I like to run a wire through them. In the Super Clean, I've noticed that for some reason gold seems to take a lot longer than chrome. I'm not sure. It's obviously just something about how they do it. This had two posts, one in the metal body that you see there, which I went ahead and tapped in the usual way, 256 screw. That's just I like to throw a junky screw in it when I'm working on it, and then I put a better screw in it, at the end of a build. I also try to put a longer screw in when I can. But here's the equipment. I'm sorry for the camera angle. This is a Vacuform machine, and it's a very small one. And my friend Philip and I, when we were kids, we dreamed of having a Vacuform machine. Philip actually has one now. I sent him pictures of this one recently, and we were talking about it. And this one is dental related. It's used for dental use. Stupidly, I thought, well, let me see if I can suck a plastic canopy through the hole in the top of the casting. This isn't the way you're supposed to do it. And what you do is you let that plastic heat, you drop it down, and you hit the vacuum switch, and it pulls that down. And you see me trying to press it in, but I either went two ways. It was too shallow on this one. I tried it again and just punctured a hole. So then I did it the right way. I didn't make a mold for it the way you're supposed to, but I went ahead and used the original canopy, did the same process again, but using the original canopy. And you see here, it pulled that clear plastic right over it the way it's supposed to. And now I'm just cutting that out. Naturally, because this is a little bit larger than the original canopy, since it was on the outside, the canopy won't stick up as high, which is perfect. It's how I wanted it to be. I didn't like the height originally. It was a little too high. This brings it down a little bit. So in the future, I'll need to make a mold for whatever I'm doing or find another way to do it. But in this case, it worked out great. And as you can see there, now I have the clear canopy that I wanted. I did cut off the front little tab portion. it was just in the way, and it was going to be, there you can see I cut that little front tab off. And I was thrilled with the results from this. And you'll see at the end, when this all gets put together, I really needed that clear canopy. Now there's the metal base. I did grind down the little excess on the bottom under those front wheels and back wheels because I'm doing a wheel swap on this as well. And it sits slightly lower, and I didn't want it to rub. You see me working on the pipes. But I'm thinking here, since the pipes are metal, I thought, well, let me clean them up. And it's not like they were flat on the ends. For some reason, the way they made it, they were pointed. It was just the way it was cast, and it wasn't all that clean. So I worked on those a while, and then I hit them with the Dremel tool and the flits, polished the pipes, with the plan being they're just going to stay polished metal. I'll hit them with a clear coat, but I didn't want to paint them. I didn't want to use a Molotow pen on them because they're metal. I should be able to polish them up nice and shiny. So I masked those off after they were polished, and I'm going to hit this with black. And then back onto the body itself. It's a casket. Now, I like a metal casket. I didn't want to make this, a wood casket. This is a metal casket, obviously. And I've always liked, say, a gold tone or a rose tone to the metal caskets. So that was my intention, was to clean that up. Went over it with the Scotch-Brite on the Dremel. Masked off the casket itself, because again, I'm not painting that. Kind of. But I masked it off so that I could shoot the rest of it black. And again, I rattle can everything. And here was an ill-conceived concept. I thought, well, let me use the gold leaf rub and buff on the casket to give it the gold tone I was after. As much as I tried, this did not work. It was just a mess. It wasn't even. So this went back in the stripper, and I redid it, and I decided, let's just go brushed, like a brushed aluminum, a brushed metal look, and went over that with the Scotch-Brite. There you see, after I've painted the base, I've painted black on the tips of the exhaust and put brass on the back bumper. And much to everyone's surprise, I'm painting the seat red. Yeah, I know. There's just something I love about a red seat in a car. I love how it pops. This is obviously why I needed the clear canopy. As butt ugly as that red canopy was, you also weren't going to be able to see anything through it. And I wanted a clear canopy. So, yeah. So then I hit the rest of the base, or the center section. This is that, what was the gold center section. I shot that with gray primer. And then I did the red seat. I'm going over it with, yes, Citadel lead belcher over most of it. And now I'm using assorted Vallejo paints, assorted Army painter paints to do some of the details. I do brass on this little tank that's in front of the engine. I'm trying to figure out, I end up using a variety of grays because there's a bat on the very front of this. And so I was trying to make it look as much like a real bat as possible. I didn't just want to paint it black. I didn't want to just paint it solid gray. So I kind of mixed a bunch of grays, dry brushing it, trying to get a lifelike look to it. hit it with some contrast paints, Citadel contrast, black, and I think it turned out pretty well. But you can be the judge of that when you see the final product. You'll notice I did paint a lot of the engine as well with the lead belcher. Here's that little rubbery kind of plastic skull section. It was rough. It had a lot of flashing on it, and it's that kind of rubbery plastic that when you sand, it just gets kind of stringy, for lack of a better way of putting it. It doesn't sand clean. And it's a fiddly little part. But I kind of got it cleaned up a little and painted the center to look like a headstone. So I'm going for concrete there. And then I did use Citadel flesh color paint for the skulls, or skull paint, bone colored paint. I did put Samed wheels on this. I thought they looked great. They add a lot to the casting because those Hot Wheels wheels just... I don't know what they're thinking when they do some of these combinations. And again, obviously they're just trying to catch little kids' eyes. So, it's not maybe as critical as it is for adults looking at these, or I don't know. It's hard to explain, but sometimes I look at what they do on some of these and it's like, dear Lord, what were you thinking? That little piece just glues in. There you see the canopy again. And that I just drop in. And again, I took that front tab section off because it wasn't going to fit well with it anyway, because it wasn't as thick as the original canopy. So it was going to need help no matter what. So I just glue this canopy in with micro crystal clear. It dries clear, reason for its name. Modelers use this to glue in airplane canopies and windshields and that kind of thing. So for the canopy, it was perfect. I just put it around the edges. And yeah, the canopy is a super thin plastic. I used, you're going to laugh, it's a presentation cover is what I used. And, there's so many plastics out there available to us if we just look, that we don't have to pay high prices. Like if I wanted to buy just a clear sheet of plastic, it's not cheap. It's surprisingly more than you would think it should be. But something, I have presentation covers, a stack of them. So this was at virtually no cost to me. But I was checking on Amazon, and if and when I do run out of this plastic, you can get 100 presentation covers really inexpensively. And there's so many other plastics out there. It's like people using the Hot Wheels packs themselves to cut out windshields and that kind of thing. I maneuvered the helping hand here with the clip facing down so that the canopy could dry upside down in there. I didn't want... The micro crystal clear is thick, don't get me wrong. It's like an Elmer's glue kind of feel to it, for those of you who haven't tried it yet. But I just didn't want it, to do it right side up and then have it drain down the sides. So I just flipped the helping hand there upside down. While that was off, I put these other pieces together just to see what it looked like, and I really like the looks of it without the body. I almost wish I hadn't done that. But yeah, maybe that's a build for the future. So there you see the finished pieces. The canopy's dry at this point. It dried more quickly than I thought it would. This is the tricky part, is feeding that through there, and you're going to see in a second. See that seat pop up in the canopy there? That's the look I was going for. I wanted to see that red seat through a clear canopy. And as stupid as it may sound, for all of the other details I put on this build, that's probably the part that makes me the happiest, is just the look of that. Before I get too far here, I do want to thank the Diecast International Builders for hosting this event. This was a great idea, and this build has been a blast. I had a lot of fun doing this. This is another one of those that, once you start, you don't want to put it down. I did use the Molotov pen on the engine, the top parts of the engine, the intake, and so that's why that's kind of shiny. And it rolls a little too well. So again, thanks to the Diecast International Builders. Please check out their builds and everybody else who's participating in this. There you saw where we started, and here's where we ended up. I think the bat looks kind of realistic. The coffin itself, it almost looks like it's painted gray in the turntable shots. Just something about the lighting. Something about the lighting and the clear coat kind of gives it that effect. That's a gloss clear, a Minwax gloss clear. But yeah, the casket looks great. But you'll see in the glamour shots coming up that it really is just the metal with the clear coat over it. I did use a little detail on the handles and that kind of thing, and throw in a bunch of little details here and there. So I hope you like this build. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already and you enjoyed this, please subscribe to check out all of the other videos and to see what's coming up later. And give it a like if you've enjoyed this. I like how that seat looks through there. Thanks to my Patreon members for all of their support. And everybody stay safe and healthy out there. Catch you in the next one.